Brett Tolman joins us right now, the former U.S. attorney and former federal prosecutor, because separately we're learning that Donald Trump, not only when he speaks, has a separate fight on his hand. He's trying to get that gag order lifted. One appeals court in New York would not let that happen. He's now going to still another court to try to make that happen. Brett, what are the odds that he'll succeed?
Thanks, Neil, for having me on. You know, I've said it before, I'll say it again. The gag order is a tool and mechanism of last resort in order to protect the defendant, in order to secure a fair trial. It is rarely, if ever, applied to the defendant. I've never seen it. And it is never applied just to one side. So the irregularities around the gag order, I think, highlight something very significant about the judge in this case. The judge is also, and this isn't being talked about, Neil, the judge is also ignoring or is willfully ignorant about several rules of evidence. What has been allowed in is not just reversible, but it is a direct violation of several rules of evidence in order to ensure that the trial is fair. If you're in Donald Trump's shoes, whether you like him or don't like him, how can you sit there and feel like you're getting a fair shot in the administration of justice and an opportunity to acquit yourself?
So, Brett, then the question becomes, has he been dinged enough in the eyes of jurors watching this all play out that they would question almost everything he says? That's the goal of the defense, right?
Yeah, I've not had a witness I've put on the stand or cross-examined on the stand that was more dangerous to my case as a prosecutor than Michael Cohen. And it is beyond me how anybody, you would have to not care about a victory, not care about doing justice. You'd have to care more about just really wanting to dirty up the target of your investigation and your prosecution in order to put that key witness, someone like Michael Cohen, on the stand. It's a case that I would say 99% of prosecutors out there would decline to bring it, and 99% of judges out there wouldn't allow this to go to the jury. They'd issue a directed verdict.
What do you think happens next? There might be another witness. Defense can always surprise you and call someone that might not be thinking of. This Brad Smith's name has come up. What do you think of that?
You know, the Brad Smith thing is interesting because I'll tell you, I know why the judge would not want to let Brad Smith in. They find themselves in a position as a judge being the only ones to convey what the law is. This does not surprise me that this judge did not let Brad Smith testify. I think the defense needs to be more creative. I would call a fact witness, someone that investigated the election complaint, and bring them in and put them on the stand, because the judge is more limited in allowing that to go to the jury than someone who comes in as an expert on legal matters.
So in a prosecution redirect, if that were to happen, let's say on Monday, what do you expect of that?
I think the redirect is what you want is the best last word. You do want to try to rehabilitate Michael Cohen, but, you know, Neil, I think you and I both know there's no level of rehabilitation that's going to occur. So then the best last word is going to be something that strengthens the resolve of many jurors that a crime did occur. So they've got to go back to what the elements are they have to prove, and they need to try to garner testimony from Cohen that hits at those elements and gets a jury to say, okay, you know what, regardless of how unreliable he is, I'm gonna agree with them. Now that's dangerous because you still have cross-examination coming up, and if they don't do a good job on redirect after, and they don't rehabilitate them, they'll lose more jurors.
I'm just wondering what you expect to hear out of Donald Trump. He uses these moments to sort of pound on the point that this is a sham, this is unfair. And he has the support of a lot of, you know, congressmen and powers that be in Washington from the Republican Party to sort of do the thing that he cannot do. They're not gagged, and they can state what's on his mind, right?
Well, it's true, but I really think there's something that happened in there, Neil, that I've never seen before. I think is very substantial, and that is the judge ruled on the scope of the cross-examination if Donald Trump takes the stand, and I think he did so in a manner that violates his right to not take the stand. I mean, in essence, the judge is saying, I'm going to prevent you from testifying on your own behalf by the ruling I'm creating. It's an interesting
I'm
question.
jumping on you.
And
We're going to hear from the former president.